that she was married to a man called Joe Giuliano. People over the internet started saying that Joe was her first husband.
Meghan Markle is the flea in the ointment who continues to ruin the increasingly rancid relationship.
Many people doubt Meghan has long been a mother. Following her attendance at Northwestern University, Meghan began dating Joe Giuliano.
What?
And the couple got married after having a child when Meghan was almost 20.
Holy shit. He said what?
According to reports, Noelle was born in or around 1999, which fits the timeline perfectly.
It's really quite sad.
Given her appearance, Noelle does share some similarities with Joe and Meghan, and she's even more like Meghan.
But apparently for me, that doesn't matter.
He wiped out all kind of pictures, communications with Joe.
What?
So what could the motive be for keeping both sides of the family away?
That's right.
So Las Vegas, the city where people marry their mistakes and gamble with their secrets. Under all that glitter, one story has been blinking like a broken neon sign. Before palaces, pearls, and perfectly framed interviews, Meghan Markle allegedly had another life and another husband. That name has haunted rumor columns for years, Joe Giuliano.
Joe Giuliano publicly posted wedding pics with Meg and spilled her dirty past.
The man insiders say loved her before the world did. The man she allegedly erased. It wasn't the royal spectacle. No balcony waves, no tiara glare, just a rented chapel, 2 signatures, and a silence that grew louder every year. And if those close to the Giuliano family are right, that little Vegas ceremony isn't just gossip. It's the missing prologue of Meghan's empire, the version that didn't survive the rewrite. Because in Vegas, what happens doesn't always stay there. Sometimes it follows you straight to Buckingham Palace, but that wasn't the whole story.
Meghan was researching the prince online and found out that the prince is now duped, so I can now go ahead and marry him. At that stage, Meghan contacted Joe, told him that, look, if you open your mouth, I'm gonna sue you.
The storm started long before the crown. Joe Giuliano wasn't a headline kind of man. He worked, paid his bills, loved quietly. Then he met Meghan Markle, beautiful, magnetic, and dangerously convincing. She had the kind of charm that made waiters forget orders and mothers forget suspicions. At first, the Giuliano family adored her. She was polite, articulate, and seemed grateful. But within weeks, they noticed the performance behind the politeness. She doesn't talk, she auditions, one cousin joked. Dinner conversations became rehearsals. Every answer came with perfect pacing, every smile timed for applause. Even her laugh had lighting. Joe thought she was nervous. His mother thought it was strategy.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated.
The family valued loyalty over luxury, but Meghan valued visibility. She'd ask about camera angles while setting the table. When Joe's dad mentioned work, she'd pivot to networking. She wasn't listening. She was scanning for her next upgrade. Behind closed doors, friends say she treated life like a script. One day she'd play the humble California girl. The next, the misunderstood starlet. Reality depended on who was watching. Joe saw ambition. His family saw warning signs.
For Meghan, you can't build an empire when you're burning through your architects. No amount of branded coffee or curated glossy Instagram posts can make the instability behind the...
But love is blind, especially when the other person knows exactly how to draw the curtains. By the time she said I do, Meghan was already planning the sequel, and no one in that tiny Vegas chapel realized the show had only just begun. The honeymoon glow didn't last long, because ambition burns hotter than affection. Within months, Meghan's focus shifted from home to Hollywood. She spoke less about love and more about leverage. According to one friend, she started referring to Joe as steady, which sounded like a compliment until you realized she meant temporary.
Meghan, look, I mean, that's a woman who wants to be famous more than anything. I mean, more than anything. She has literally chucked every single person in her life under the bus other than her mum, right? So I know her dad really well. I know her sister really well. I think they're a really good, honest American family, but she was embarrassed by them. You know, she was embarrassed by them. They were too working class. They were too normal for Meghan. She didn't want them to be part of it, so she just flipped them, got rid of them.
If she'll do this to our family, she'll do this to yours. I love her, she's my sister, but humanitarians and diplomats don't behave like this.
The Giulianos noticed her disappearances, weekends gone for auditions, nights filled with calls. She began rehearsing new versions of herself, each one more polished, less human. When the family asked if she planned to settle, she smiled and said, "Settling isn't my vocabulary." They laughed. She didn't. Soon, things started to vanish. First small mementos, then photos, then entire conversations. Letters shredded, frames emptied. It was as if she was deleting proof that Joe ever existed. Then came the final warning. Insiders claim Meghan told Joe, "If you ever talk about us, you'll regret it."
Markle would indeed have a secret daughter entrusted to this Joe Giuliano, a former companion of the Duchess of Sussex. The two met at university, and there's even talk of a secret wedding, celebrated but then cancelled.
He never tested the threat. He simply disappeared from her storyline. For years, the rumors stayed underground, just gossip traded in low voices. But like every buried secret, it eventually clawed its way back to daylight. And when it did, it threatened to collapse the perfect palace narrative built on polished PR and selective memory.
I just made a little mark on my board and said, oh, there's another lie. Click.
Because what happens when the woman who preaches transparency turns out to have sealed her own past like a state secret? That revelation was coming fast, and it was brutal. It started with money. Allegedly, Meghan had been talking nonstop about moving to Los Angeles to chase acting. Joe's parents, generous but cautious, offered guidance and asked questions. How would she afford it? Where would she stay? Who was she meeting? According to a relative, her smile vanished. Not anger, ice. Like she'd just realized they weren't co-stars. They were obstacles. Weeks later, she was gone. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just an empty closet and a voicemail box that never picked up. Then an envelope arrived. Dissolution papers. Short marriage, quick erasure, no explanation.
Meghan contacted Joe, told him that, look, if you open your mouth, I'm gonna sue you.
To the Giulianos, it felt like being unfriended from real life. Joe drove to her old apartment, vacant. He called mutual friends. None knew where she went. It was as if she'd vanished into thin Hollywood air. Years later, when journalists started connecting the dots, they uncovered sealed marriage records, missing files, unexplained gaps. Coincidence or cleanup? No one could say for sure, but the Giuliano family didn't need proof. They'd seen that precision before. They believed Meghan had perfected the art of deletion long before she perfected the royal wave. And now that talent was about to come back and haunt her, louder than ever, because even in Vegas, where memories are supposed to stay lost, this one found its way home.
Markle herself's been exposed again as someone loose with the truth.
She opens her mouth and a lie comes out.
So all of these lies started coming out, but we didn't know that she had told the royal family so many porcupines. So it makes sense. Oh my God, I've got to keep everybody away because if they start talking, the lies come out.
Classic.
But there were so many of them. And why? It would have been so easy to be honest about who she is and to be proud and to empower other women when she's out there using her platform. Be proud of who you are. Work hard. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. You don't have to dress like Diana. You don't have to say you got grants and scholarships.
Time moved on, but unfinished business doesn't age well. When Meghan became a duchess, old acquaintances started connecting dots the palace never printed. Somewhere in the background, Joe Giuliano watched a woman he'd once loved curate an entirely new identity. The press called her self-made. He called her self-erased. Friends say he stayed silent for years out of heartbreak and maybe fear. He'd seen how efficiently she could disappear people, but after her rise to royalty, the noise around that vanished Vegas marriage got too loud to ignore. A leaked message surfaced. Joe allegedly told a friend, she once said if she ever made it big, no one would know I existed. That line detonated like fireworks over Buckingham Palace. The world suddenly realized the Duchess who preaches transparency might have edited her own pilot episode. Online forums turned into forensic labs, fans zoomed into blurry chapel photos like detectives on caffeine. The Giuliano family finally spoke, softly, but with conviction. We're not angry she left. We're angry she lied.
It is pretty extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, I think she's just got so used to lying that maybe, in my opinion, she believes the lies she tells. I don't know, but either way, she's just been so consistently loose with the truth.
And everything else was PR smoke and mirrors. So, you know, and I think here's another thing for Harry to say and Meghan to say we never got to tell our story. Baloney. You were paying multi-million-dollar PR firms to tell your story the way you controlled it, the way you wanted it told, while you also disparaged and silenced others. So I don't want to hear we're finally getting to tell our story. We've heard their stories all along. That's what multi-million-dollar PR firms do. So that is a lie.
So these are lies.
I mean, how could she tell this stuff and get away with it?
That statement sliced through her PR armor because it didn't sound bitter. It sounded believable. Within hours, tabloids had a new obsession. Who was Joe Giuliano? The palace tried to drown the question with charity headlines and glossy appearances, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Meghan's brand was built on authenticity.
Oh my gosh, I worked so hard, and I'm still working hard. And I've always been a hard worker. I'm going to live my life really authentically, make choices authentically.
She can't even act like herself.
She's such a phony.
Do not trust this woman.
Uncle, make it end. Make it end. What is this? Guys, I feel like I'm actually I'm a very accepting person. Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her. And it's so hard because she suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen this sort of before. I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
And now Authenticity had filed a lawsuit. Every talk show, every gossip page, every YouTube commentator suddenly wanted to know what else she'd deleted. Royal staff reportedly panicked. One aide allegedly muttered, "It's not the marriage, it's the pattern." Exactly, that pattern. The reinvention, the control, the vanishing acts had followed her all the way from Vegas to Windsor. And this time, the deletion didn't work.
And they keep on making these broad allegations without names, without incidents, without examples, no evidence at all.
Joe finally agreed to talk, not in anger, but in exhaustion. His tone was calm, almost gentle, which somehow made everything worse. "Her family didn't reject me," he said quietly. "Mine rejected her." The quote flipped the narrative like a table at a palace banquet. For years, Meghan was framed as the outsider victimized by snobbery. But if Joe's version was true, the snub started long before the royals, right there at the Giuliano dinner table. Suddenly, her whole story looked less like destiny and more like déjà vu. Every bridge she'd crossed seemed to be smoking behind her. Commentators began drawing connections. The way she controlled her image, the way she crafted victimhood.
Are so vindictive and never miss an opportunity to play the victim while behind the scenes actually behaving like villains.
The way every inconvenient person vanished from her orbit. This wasn't coincidence, it was choreography. Even royal biographers hinted at missing years, sealed records, and a mystery first marriage. The palace refused to comment, which, in royal language, is basically a nod. Inside Montecito, sources claimed things turned volcanic. Meghan allegedly accused royal operatives of planning the story. Harry, ever the loyal husband, begged her to log off. She didn't. She called emergency meetings with her PR team, demanding statements that painted her as misunderstood, not manipulative. They drafted soundbite apologies, soft focus explanations, carefully curated pain.
Everything had to be perfectly curated.
But the audience had changed. They'd heard sincerity now, and they could tell the difference. Because Joe hadn't sounded angry, he'd sounded human. And humanity doesn't need a press release. When Joe's interview aired, the Duchess brand cracked like a dropped tiara. He didn't rant or reveal scandals. He simply remembered, and that was fatal. "I wanted to marry her," he said, but she wanted to marry the version of herself she imagined. It was the kind of line you can't spin. Within minutes, clips went viral. Every outlet ran with "the man before the crown." Old photos emerged, grainy snapshots from NYU events, Joe in a thrift store tux, Meghan smiling like she hadn't learned the royal pose yet. The internet went wild. People saw warmth, relatability, the opposite of everything her brand had become, and suddenly, perfection looked suspicious. Then came the knockout punch. Joe's mother allegedly told reporters, "When she left, we didn't lose a daughter-in-law. We dodged a hurricane." That quote alone trended worldwide. Because it didn't just describe Meghan, it described the storm she left everywhere she went.
It's another weird week on planet Sussex, where the gruesome twosomes' extraordinary lives get stranger by the day. Watching this tawdry real-life soap opera in all its lack of glory is becoming an almost painful experience.
The timing was catastrophic. She'd been preparing to relaunch her lifestyle brand, orchards, jam, and pastel serenity. Now the only thing people were spreading was gossip. Every headline pivoted from homemade luxury to home-wrecked legacy. Insiders claimed she paced through Montecito shouting that the press was twisting Joe's words, but it was too late. The story wasn't being told by her team anymore. It was being told by everyone she tried to forget. Even her allies stayed quiet. Hollywood loves redemption arcs, not reruns. And while Harry smiled dutifully beside her for cameras, sources say he looked exhausted, like a man realizing he'd married someone who edits reality for a living. The world had seen the cracks, and no amount of glossy lighting could hide them now. In the end, Giuliano didn't ruin Meghan Markle. He simply reminded the world that authenticity can't be photoshopped. A man with no PR team, no entourage, no palace budget, just truth and timing, managed to shake the narrative of one of the most media-trained women alive. His story didn't expose crime, it exposed character. And that, for someone built on image, is the ultimate scandal. Because when you build your empire on selective memory, all it takes is one survivor to remember everything. Meghan's fairy tale didn't collapse because of hatred or envy. It cracked under the weight of its own editing. Vegas vows, erased names, vanished files, every deletion became a breadcrumb leading straight back to the truth. And maybe that's the irony history loves most. The Duchess who taught the world about living authentically is still haunted by the one man who knew her before the script. Fame fades, power shifts, but receipts, they always resurface. So maybe the question isn't whether the rumors are true, it's whether anyone can ever really delete the version of themselves they'd rather forget. If you caught the clues before the cameras did, hit like, tap subscribe, and ring that bell, because this saga isn't done. Now Tell me in the comments, was Meghan rewriting her destiny or just her history? Drop your thoughts below. And since you made it this far, feel free to check out some of my other videos on the top of the screen. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed. Only on Tea Time with Tina.